Well, hello, hello. Good afternoon and happy Monday. Let me introduce you to your amazing facilitator, y'all. She has a light, she's so kind, and I am excited for you guys to learn from her. Let me pull up Miss Patty's bio. Let's see, here we go. Miss Patty has a Bachelor of Science degree in Family Relations and Child Development from Oklahoma State University. She taught kindergarten for 7 years and then was a stay-at-home mom for 33 years. A lot of y'all are realizing stay-at-home moms are doing a lot more than people think over the last couple of months, right? Miss Patty has 3 kids. One was needy, one was sort of colicky, and one was the most colicky baby that God ever put on this planet. So what she talks about today, she has experience, okay? um, so that is the introduction for Miss Patty. Once again, I'm so grateful you guys are here. As always, I am going to go away so that the recording is strictly on Miss Patty and her amazing class. Once again, use the chat box to ask questions, to interact. I love you, you're worthy, and I will see you at the end of the session. Miss Patty, thank you so much for being here. It is on you.
Okay, ladies, I'm so excited to talk about this today, and I wish you a happy belated Mother's Day. If this was your first Mother's Day, how special! Oh my gosh, especially happy day to you. I remember my first Mother's Day. It was about 34 years ago. I had a 2.5-month-old, and I remember how blessed and how happy I felt. I also remember how overwhelmed and panicked I was, and I wondered how I would ever get through the next 18 Mother's Day, because having a new baby is really hard, and if your baby isn't an easy baby, that just it makes it just really hard. And my heart goes out to you. I wish I could hold all of your babies for an hour so you could go take a walk or a bubble bath or dig in the flower bed or whatever you need to do, because I know how 24/7 it is when you have one of these little guys. And just a funny little side note on Mother's Day. A few years after my first Mother's Day, when I had 2 little boys, my husband, he would always insist that I do no work on Mother's Day, and that would have been fine if somebody else was doing my work, but I would tell my mother it took me 2 weeks to get caught up for Mother's Day because I didn't do anything that day, and then I was just inundated for the rest of the next couple of weeks trying to catch up for my day off. So just on a side note, as Courtney said, I have 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, and they would all fit in the categories, the spectrum here of the needy, colicky baby. I didn't have any easy babies. My firstborn, thank God, was just mildly colicky. And I guess I would say he was more wakeful than a crying baby. He just didn't want to sleep. He could hold his eyes open. It seemed like he had toothaches, and not go to bed until the wee hours of the night. He was kind of a where's the party kind of guy. He didn't want to be separated from the action. We had this stroller, which for the newborn position, the baby was supposed to lay down, but he was very sad in that position because then he couldn't see all that was around him. So we'd have to cram rolled up diapers and and blankets and things to prop him up in the sitting position, even though he was just a tiny baby. So he would be happy on his stroller rides. Then my baby number 2, he came along 3 years later. He had full-blown colic. He starting about 2 weeks, he he started complaining, like around probably 4:30 in the afternoon, just that kind of that complaining, and then it would escalate, escalate, and he would be screaming. He would scream until probably 2 a.m. And then finally just fall into a dead sleep because he was exhausted, and I was exhausted too, and it was just so frustrating because it felt like I couldn't do anything for him. Oh boy. And so let's see here what I have about my little Peter Joseph, who was the colic, is lucky for him, he was cute as a bug. You know, our God is so smart. Like with puppies and kittens, he makes them so adorable that you don't totally lose it with them. And so an interesting thing happened with him when I took him to his 2-week checkup. The pediatrician sent me home with a prescription for him. He wasn't even really fully colicking then. It doesn't really seem to click in until about 3 weeks with most babies. And you know, my mother's intuition, that still small voice that we learn about in church, said, a prescription for a 2-week-old. I wonder about this. So I decided to call my old family doctor back home and just run this by him. And he said, he told me, what did he say? He said, that is a highly addictive narcotic that is easily overdosed. And I was so glad I had not given that to my baby. But he went through some things with me that really helped me. And I think I got through this because of his words of advice. He said, what you need to do is go to your calendar, and you need to clear everything off your calendar. You need to, any obligations that you have for the next couple of months, you need to get out of them, because this baby needs you. And then he talked about baby carriers, and he said, I highly recommend that you carry this baby as much as you can, and that's a tiring thing. It kind of makes you hurt when you are wearing your baby or carrying your baby many hours of the day. And he said, you need to get different kinds of baby carriers. There's like the front baby carrier, there's a hip baby carrier, there's a sling baby carrier. And then as they get older, I had great luck with that backpack baby carrier. I think they're kind of hard to find these days. They're on a frame. And I'll talk about those later. And then he said it would be a good time to increase my collection of classical music. And he wasn't talking about playing this for the baby. He was talking about, well, you girls will laugh, but back in the 80s, we had these things called Walkmans that played that played cassette tapes. And so his suggestion was that I put classical music on, put on the headphones, and then that would somewhat drown out little Peter Joseph's crying, and also, you know, to kind of be relaxing for me. So I'm sure you ladies have all kinds of better things to use these days than a Walkman. And then he said something that really got my attention. He said, you know, these babies, they seldom turn out as middle of the road kind of people. They, in his experience, they usually turn out as really top-notch exemplary people, or people who kind of struggle. And he said, you know, it's really up to you how this goes. So that motivated me to really up my ante and really put myself into it. Oh boy, let's see here. And then my people always ask why there's 11 years between my second and my third baby, and the answer is colic. Uh, he was probably 6 before I could hear the word baby without my blood running cold. He wore me. He was adorable. He was precious. He was a wonderful baby, but he just wore me into the ground. And it was so funny. So when my second baby was colicking, when my husband would get ready for work, I would be so jealous of him because number one, he got to sit down because this baby really needed constant motion and arms motion, not swings. Then I was jealous because he could turn on the radio and actually hear it, because I couldn't hear music or TV or anything at my house because I had this crying baby. And then my husband had colic, and yes, I couldn't find anything whether there's a genetic tendency that it's passed down from parent to child. But since my boys were both colicky, I wondered if there was a tendency toward boys to maybe have colic more. So it was so funny. My husband had this darling little grandmother, little Russian lady, about 4 feet 9 inches tall, and they called her Granny. And when Granny she lived way up into her 90s, and when she had dementia, and she could not tell you who was the president. She could not tell you what the year was, but she could still give you a blow by blow account of my husband and his colic, and how they would walk up and down the hall with him, patting him, and how the next day she never had to call her neighbors and let them know that her grandson had been over to visit, because they had all heard his crying through her walls and into their walls. So yeah, I wonder if colic just runs in families. So here we go. Here we go with our little. This is little baby in mommy's tummy. I'm calling him Patrick. I'm calling him Patrick Pregnancy Aid Clinic. So here he is. So when baby is in mom's belly, it's the most blissful place this side of heaven, and their life is very well organized. He's always at a comfy temperature, and mommy's body takes care of his waste products, so he doesn't have any dirty diapers or wet diapers. He's getting the perfect food at the perfect time, so he's never hungry or thirsty. And he doesn't have to remember to breathe. So he's living the bliss. I often wonder if that first breath that a baby takes, how painful that must be when a baby's born. And then he and mom are just one. He's never lonely. And he's in fluid, so it's like he's being rocked constantly, back and forth, back and forth. So while he's in mom's belly, little Patrick here, he fits harmoniously in his environment. He's in the perfect environment, and generally babies in their mommy's tummy, they don't feel any stress, and they're totally fulfilled. Every wish is taken care of before they can even have it. So he's in this very organized environment, just chilling, and then suddenly he's born. And when he's born, then this organization that he had felt, it's suddenly disrupted, and now he has to do something to get his needs met. So some babies, they have very low levels of needs, and these are the babies that people call easy babies, good babies. And if he doesn't adapt as easily, then he's labeled a difficult baby, and he has a high level of need, and these babies need more. And a lot of people think colic is a baby in pain, and every baby is different. So maybe your baby is crying and colicky because of pain, but my baby's cries were not pain cries. They were sad cries, or they were angry cries, like they were homesick. It was like they wanted to go back where they had come from, that they missed the womb. And in a little bit, we'll go over some of the back to the womb techniques that you can use to soothe your baby. And okay, here. So let's see who we have next here. Okay, here's our little guy again. And I remember when I had little kids, people would ask, "Oh, is he a good baby?" And I didn't like that question. I didn't like that question at all, because my babies were not good babies in the sense of what the world considers a good baby. That the baby that's very schedulable and who happily settles in his crib, the baby who can just be fed and changed and then put down, and mom can go on about her life and actually have a little bit of life of her own, or the baby who plays with toys in his crib or on the floor. That wasn't the baby that I got. So this little guy here, we're looking at, okay, people call him names. They call him difficult, they call him demanding, they call him super sensitive, fussy, colicky, exhausting. This little guy, he needs more of everything except sleep. And I'd like for us to think about this little guy maybe with some different labels. I like to think of him as an assertive baby. He knows how to ask for what he needs in order to grow. How about an attached baby? He knows he does best when he's close to mom, or he's close to dad, or he's close to somebody else who loves him. And how about we call him a smart baby? He knows what to do. He knows how to get his needs met. So we're going to call him the above average baby. Okay, we're not going to call him colicky. We're going to call him fussy. And excuse me, ladies, I haven't done Zoom ever in my life, so it's taken me a while. So we cooperate with this baby, okay? I think that when we cooperate with them and their needs, as they get older, I think they're more willing to cooperate with us. My second baby, my very colicky baby, who just nearly ran me into the ground, a few years later, I could take him anywhere. I could say, okay, we're going to go to this meeting. My son had this wonderful guidance counselor at his school who was able to get in these wonderful speakers who you would have to pay big bucks to see any place else. But she would have these lunch and learn meetings. And so I would take my little 2-3-year-old with me along, and we'd go get a Happy Meal, and he would eat that while the speaker spoke, and I would explain to him, you know, we're going to go and you're going to be quiet, you're going to eat your Happy Meal, and you're going to play with your toy, and when you start getting tired of your toy, well, then the meeting will be almost over. So just, you can crawl into my lap and just know that it's almost over. And this child, he was willing to cooperate with me, and I think that's because I was willing to cooperate with him and his needs when he was little. And some of those people would glare at me like, why are you bringing this little boy to my meeting? He's going to disrupt. And honestly, did not. He listened and he did what he was supposed to do. And it's hard for us moms not to compare ourselves and our babies to other moms. I remember asking, why can't I handle my baby? Everyone else, their baby doesn't require so much, and the other moms seem more in control than I do. And all I can say is just don't compare your baby to other babies. How easy your baby is, it doesn't reflect your mothering abilities. It doesn't affect how good a mother you are. And your baby, he fusses as much as he does because that's the temperament that God gave him. And it doesn't have anything to do with your mothering abilities. Also, I found that mothers tend to exaggerate how good their babies are, and grandmas especially. And you may be seeing other mothers and their babies at their very best times. So don't compare. Your baby demands so much because he actually needs so much. And his demands are geared to bring out the best in you. Your baby's needs, they make you a better parent. They make you a smarter parent. They make you a more creative parent. They make you a more patient parent. So if you have a child like this, I say congratulations. You're the parent of an above average baby, and he needs above average parenting, and he will bring out the best in you. So a lot of people find that the things that help comfort these needy little children are things that mimic the environment that they lived in the womb. My hero through all my child rearing was a pediatrician. He wrote many books. His name was Dr. Bill Sears, and the book, The Fussy Baby, that was my salvation. That got me through a baby who cried from 4 p.m. until 2 a.m. Dr. Sears also has another wonderful book called Nighttime Parenting. He has the baby book, and he has a book called Christian Parenting. These are older books. They were from the 80s and 90s, but I'm sure they're still available and probably better, more recent editions than they used to be. So the first thing we can do to mimic the womb is rhythmic motion. Most moms learn their baby's dance very, very early. Each baby has his own little dance that he likes you to do when you're holding him. My fussiest baby, he was very comforted if I put him in the sling, and then we would go up and down the stairs, and he would like me to go up one stair and bounce, up the next stair and bounce, up the next stair and bounce. And it was exhausting, but it comforted him. And you know what? That baby weight came off really quickly with that child because I got plenty of exercise. Some babies do well with car rides. I'm jealous of my parents' generation who raised us in the 50s, and they didn't have car seats because mom could just sit in the car, hold baby like this, and dad could drive or whoever, and then you could just go home and you didn't have to mess with the car seat, because that never, once my babies fell asleep in the car, then doing the car seat just woke them up. Also, there's some babies who are okay to be out of your arms for a while. They like bouncy seats. One of my children had a little bouncy seat that you could, it had a little buzzer in the bottom, and that little bit of buzzing helped them. And then you want to be very, very close to your baby. Close and frequent contact they love. Some babies like baby massage. My children would scream if I laid them down. So baby massage didn't work for them. Warm water. I would take the babies into the bath with me and lower the lights so that mimicked the womb, and they were happy there. If your baby's father has a fuzzy chest, babies love to lay down on daddy's chest here. And then my colickiest baby, if I would try to take a shower and put him in the infant seat with the shower door open so he could see me right there, he would still scream his head off. So I found a Guatemalan baby sling. It was made out of net, like their hammocks, and it held him right on my hip. And that little baby, he was happy as a clam in that shower with that water coming down on his head. He was screaming his head off in the infant seat there with looking up, Mom, but you bring him in the shower, he was just fine. And then good luck. Hang on just a minute. I want to show you the colic hold. So here's our little Patrick Pregnancy Aid Clinic. So when I had my third baby, my other children were almost 14 and almost 11. So my oldest son, he was a big guy. He was as tall as a man. And so when my daughter would start to kind of fuss at night and swallow air, he would come get her and put her in this colic hold. So you put your hand right here under the diaper. Then baby's arms are right here, and here's the head. And he would go walk her at 10 o'clock at night up and down the street. And he was so proud. The neighbors were all out walking their dogs, and he just loved to show her off. So soothing sounds for Miss Baby. So some people have white noise machines. Like I said, classical music. When my daughter was born in 1999, our Governor Zell Miller gave all babies a classical music tape, or it was a CD to listen to. I had music that were little nursery rhymes that went along with mother's, that was like a heartbeat was the rhythm, and those were soothing. Metronomes, you can, anything that's a rhythmic sound, babies love. And then frequent feeding. I don't have a lot of knowledge about bottle feeding, but frequent feeding of babies seems to work better with a colicky baby. I read about a study in Australia that if you nurse just on one side at a time, that seems to help these babies. The content of the milk changes throughout the feeding, and in the beginning it's real watery and carbohydrate-y, and then as they nurse, then it becomes more protein and more fat, and some babies seem to do better that way. It sounds really uncomfortable to me to only nurse on one side at a time, but it might work. Quickly responding to your baby's cries, that goes without explanation. And then wearing your baby, like my family doctor told me, a sling, a front pack, a backpack. When your baby is sitting up or almost sitting up and has really good muscle control of the head and the neck and the back, I had fabulous luck with the backpack. I had the kind that's on a frame, so you can use it. You set it up on the floor, and then you sit down, you slide your arms in and stand up. And also that worked well with if the baby fell asleep, then I could sit back down on the floor and kind of quietly sneak out. And of course, you don't go off and leave the child in that, but you turn his head, and so he's okay. And then you can maybe read a book or watch a little bit of a movie or do whatever right there in the room, and fold clothes. That's very helpful. So, you know, you can, this goes on and on and on. Let's see here. I was going to talk about different foods and things that some mothers have tends to make their babies fuzzy, but I think we need to go on to our next slide. So maybe we'll come back to this later if we have a minute. So dealing with criticism. If you are responding to your baby's needs promptly, there are people who don't like that. I realize that most people are clueless about this kind of baby if they've never had a fussy, colicky baby, and just expect to receive all kinds of advice. And I learned very soon that you'll get advice from one person and then someone else will give you the total opposite advice. So I say, God gave you mother's intuition, and listen to that before you listen to other people, because you know your baby better than anybody else. And we're susceptible as new moms to people's criticism. It's really hard. And if the baby's father can be the boundary keeper, sometimes you just you can't be around your critics. So be confident. I found that if somebody said something unhelpful to me, I could say, thanks for sharing, or that might work, or what we're doing really works for our family. And if grandma is on the same team with you, oh my gosh, grandma is a bulldog gatekeeper. She'll protect you from the world. So acknowledge their concern. And it's really hard when the criticism comes from your mom or your dad or your sibling or a good friend. And I found that the best thing to do was just change the subject, or just say, you know, it's so nice to have somebody who loves this baby as much as I do. Usually that diffused the situation a little, because you do have that in common. You both just love that baby dearly. And they were raised in a different generation. They were afraid of spoiling the baby or giving the baby bad habits. Just don't let your critics get you down. And then something that a guidance counselor helped me with once, when you're going through really hard things, think of your life as a pie, and think about how big so if this pie is your entire life and you live for 90 years, the 6 months that your baby's super fussy, I couldn't even make a piece of pie that little. That if you live to be 90, that's like a 1/180th piece of that pie. And gee whiz, who's happy with a 1/180th piece of pie? But yeah, try to keep it in perspective. Everybody, I say 6 months is the absolute longest that any baby colics. They still have high needs. They still need a lot of you. And if you think your baby is in pain, contact your pediatrician. And if a family with a colicky baby, you're in crisis, you need support. And if the people in your family aren't supportive, I think you have a mommy tribe or some sort of mommy to mommy group here at Pregnancy Aid Clinic. Also, the La Leche League. Oh my gosh, what a wonderful group of supportive mothers. If you're bottle feeding, I would just go to the meeting and say, I plan to breastfeed my next baby, and they'll be so sweet to you. Those of you who don't know what La Leche League is, you can email me, or I could send out a link. I'm not that good with technology, but such a wonderful group of women. Uh, if you could go to one of their yearly meetings, you will see moms, moms of every age, moms of every culture, every language, every socioeconomic group, and babies are the great equalizer. We're just all a bunch of moms there, loving our babies and trying to learn what we can learn, and they even give scholarships to those meetings to people who are in need. So I highly recommend them. And listen to that still small voice inside of that. That's your mom's intuition. You know best. You know that your baby better than anything. And so I just want to wrap up with a story that kind of made it all worthwhile. When my third baby was born, I was 42, and my boys were almost 11 and almost 14. And they came into the room. She was probably not even an hour old, and it was they were so confident. They'd never been around a baby in their lives, but they were so confident to just pick her up. And I think this is because I was a mom who cooperated with their babiness, because she would, when she'd start to fuss, these boys, they knew exactly to do a baby dance. I was in shock. I didn't know to do a baby dance when I had my first baby, and they were so wonderful and so comforting and so sensitive, and they had such a intuition of how to deal with the baby. So that just made it all worthwhile. All the exhaustion, all the lack of sleep, just seeing your children grow up and be sensitive and intuitive in dealing with babies. So Courtney, that's about it. I hope this was helpful.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. What great and helpful information. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? Okay, we've got a question. What technique worked best with colic in your experience?
Baby wearing, rhythmic movement. If we were inside and they were really wound up, if I could step outside, getting a change of scenery, the frequent nursing. My Colicky's baby, it was the going up and down the stairs, and the warm bath were the most helpful.
Awesome, thank you. Any other questions or comments for Miss Patty? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Awesome. Well, here we go. Oh, so one of our students just had a baby. He's 10 days old.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Hope mommy and baby are doing well. Oh, that's so exciting. Okay, question is, how can I get my breastfed baby to sleep in his own bed? He only sleeps when he's held. Ooh.
Oh yes. Oh honey, I can relate. That is a very controversial topic, and it has become more controversial since my children were born. I would suggest you Google a Dr. James McKenna. He is at Notre Dame. It's like a Mother and Baby Sleep Institute. There is a lot of science out there that we don't hear about, how important it is for mommies and babies to be together at night. I know we see billboards and all kinds of things that say that that's dangerous, but he has all kinds of guidelines on how to sleep safely near your baby. And really, that's what they were designed to do. You know, your baby was in the womb. He's used to being one with you, and some baby, I had a my last two children were just rarely in the crib because they would scream. They would just scream and scream and scream. There was when my first baby was born, there was a Dr. Ferber. He had a book about getting your baby to sleep, and I tried that with my first son, and his was a sleep training book that you just go to the crib at different intervals, and I've just got to say, if I spend eternity in hell, it will because I tried to Ferberize my firstborn baby. Some children are that works for them. My children, it did not, and it made my son very angry with me to try to sleep train him. So you know, every baby is different, but I really have not much to say about getting your baby to sleep in the crib.
All right, we have on here, one of our students said, I believe her child is 13 months and she used white noise when her child was a baby.
Oh,
And
excellent.
then we have a question about, has anyone used gripe water regarding colic? And if so, does it work?
Oh, wow. That's something I haven't heard of. I had a whole list of alternative methods, but I just ran out of time. But if you're breastfeeding, I always thought mom take it herself, and then it'll be properly dosed to the baby. So no, I don't know about gripe water, but as far as like different herbal teas and things that people use, I would say mom drink the tea if you're breastfeeding.
Okay. And I'm also going to add, talk to your pediatrician. You guys
Absolutely,
have,
yes.
yeah, you guys have got little ones. You're going to appointments or you have access to virtual appointments during this crazy time. Talk to your pediatrician. Let's see, I used it for my daughter who's now 5 and it worked for her. So yeah, as Miss
Okay.
Patty said, every baby is different.
Okay. Do we have a
So,
minute for them to tell me what gripe water is? I've never heard of that.
anybody want to share what gripe water is, or I can pull up the Google definition.
Okay. Oh, I can do that too.
Oh no, I mean, hey, why not talk about it? Let's see. Okay, I pulled up the Googles,
Okay.
and I have an article from Healthline, and it says, well, as I go through all the ads, my goodness. Gripe water is an herbal remedy available in liquid form. There are many variations, but most formulas contain a mixture of fennel, ginger, chamomile, licorice, cinnamon, and lemon balm. So it says gripe water is also used for teething pain and hiccups. So once again, talk to your pediatrician.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because, you know, if Miss Patty and I say, sure, gripe water's fine, and then your baby gets a bellyache or something, y'all not going to come blaming us.
Right,
So,
right. And if you're breastfeeding, drink the gripe water yourself and see what that does.
yeah, I really love that you said, you know, mommy drink it because then it comes out properly dosed for baby. So I love that suggestion, that anything you're trying to get into baby system, you are ingesting yourself. So talk to your pediatrician. I feel like gripe water is probably like amber beads for teething. Like, you know, some doctors say yay, some doctors say nay. Talk to your pediatrician. If you trust your
Yeah.
pediatrician to be your baby's doctor, then you're going to trust your pediatrician's response to things
Absolutely.
like
And it
gripe
sounds
water.
like an herbal tea. So
Yeah, that's
make
exactly what it
yourself a
sounded
cup of
like.
that, mom, and drink. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that is it. Looks like most have, you know, sent in their questions and put in their email address for attendance tracking. Miss Patty, thank you so much. You are so, like, I knew you were full of light, but your knowledge is invaluable. And I know I appreciate it. I'm sure my students appreciate it. Thank you for sharing a piece of you and a piece of your family with us today. I love you guys. You are worthy. Have an amazing day. And we'll see you this Thursday at 5 p.m. for another class. So have a wonderful day, y'all.